Hello, my name is Ryan Huxley. I'm a supervising structural engineer with DSA headquarters in Sacramento. I've been with DSA since 2007, starting out as a senior structural engineer, essentially a structural engineer plan reviewer, and now I'm in headquarters. This module will be going over the DSA box and how to use it, which is a required system for submitting documents to DSA. So some general background information regarding DSA Box. It is free to all the team members who will be involved with submitting documents to DSA. It's conceptually similar to a filing cabinet, but is more sophisticated than that. It has the capability to send emails to all team members based upon who's been notified, using the @ symbol to communicate with individuals in the comment section for a given document that has been uploaded. It also maintains the response and who has done what and when, as well as the version of a given document. This provides a much better historical recording of activities associated with a given file. So some more information generally about the nature of DSA Box. So as you can see from the title in this slide, External Users Training Module, that's EUTM, that's what it will be abbreviated. That will be referenced throughout the remainder of this module just with that acronym. So what is DSA Box? It's essentially a secure cloud-based collaborative solution from a third-party vendor that was initiated by us, DSA, to facilitate greater transparency and communication between us and designated stakeholders. Basically, it's for those individuals who must submit documents to DSA. DSA Box is required for active construction projects for those team members that have a responsibility to report to DSA during the construction phase of projects, usually through submission of documents. So in the External Users Training module in section 1.1, it provides some helpful information about what DSA Box is not, and we'll go over those now. DSA Box is not a depository for storing project-related documents and communications that are not required to be submitted to DSA. DSA Box is only to be used when submitting required documents to DSA. As a project inspector, you are welcome to use your own box account separate from DSA Box to store other documents or communications. There are other filing systems and cloud sharing communication methods as well that are open to you for your own files that you're using, but keep in mind DSA Box is just for submitting required documents to DSA. Additionally, using DSA Box does not fulfill all of the required documentation and record keeping that you as the project inspector must maintain in your job file in accordance with the California Administrative Code 4-342B3. Keep in mind that Procedure PR 1301, Section 1.5 currently requires both a soft copy, an e-document essentially, and a hard copy for some documents, such as the inspection card, which we'll be covering later in another module. You can see DSA's interpretation of regulations, IRA 8, for additional requirements. As far as the standards and use policies associated with DSA Box, that's covered in the External Users Training module in section 1.2. DSA established DSA Box items are as listed here. We established the folder structure. We've also established what is to be located where, as far as creating and moving documents between folders and what those relationships are. We've also defined folder and file naming conventions. That's in section of the External Users Training module, section 1.4. Generally speaking, there's going to be one document per folder. That's usually going to be relatively easy to identify based upon the name of the folder. We also establish what the user access and permissions are with regards to uploading, downloading, viewing only, and so on. Through this DSA is able to notify internal staff. Therefore, because there are important user access and permissions associated with the different files and folders within DSAbox, it's important that you, as well as others, notify DSA of any internal staff changes that would cause changing DSAbox access modifications. And this is a big one to keep in mind. Users should have no expectation of privacy. Continuing on with the standards and use policies, DSA's clients have view access to all projects and all folders that fall under their jurisdiction. This essentially means that school districts can look at any school projects within their domain, so to speak, within their jurisdiction that have been in Box. DSAbox is also used by internal DSA staff, business partners, and collaborators in the tracks, which is the term usually for folders, based upon the roles and the open construction projects currently under construction. Each track or folder is titled to reflect the name of the primary parties that will be providing those documents. So this is getting back to what I had mentioned previously. Which document goes where is relatively straightforward based upon the naming provided in the folders, or the tracks as they referred to. The permissions are secure for those documents and that they cannot be deleted by most individuals who are uploading files. DSA internal staff, some of those staff do have that delete capability, but generally speaking, most of the external stakeholders do not. Documents can be uploaded with the full version control by the document owner only. So for those of you who are uploading files, you have some control over the versions there. If you happen to upload an incorrect document or file, you can, rather than worrying about getting it deleted, just re-upload a new version, and that will take care of it, because DSAbox displays whatever is the most recent version of a given document. The history is also available for those who wanted to go back and see what changes may have occurred during the life of the uploads of that file or document into that folder. The kinds of documents that can be uploaded are PDFs, JPEGs, various correspondence type files, drawings, spreadsheets, and so on. DSA has a very strict requirement related to the file naming standards, and this is covered, I briefly mentioned this earlier, but this is just a simple schematic identifying some of the different aspects of naming of folders and files within DSAbox. You can refer to the Resources tab that's associated with DSAbox file naming for further information, or look at the External Users Training module in section 1.4. You can see that for the folder naming by DSA that there is specific information that helps associate the file with a particular DSA origin, application number, and then the track discipline identifier, and then any other specific information that's associated with that naming that's required to be provided based upon the nature of that file. Again, in the External Users Training module of section 1.4, there's more information about what that is for each of the files or documents being uploaded. Similar for the file naming standard, and an example is provided in the image below for the DSA Form 119, which is the Project Inspector Performance Evaluation form used by field engineers during field visits. Be sure to be aware that there is sometimes going to be a dash or not a dash, depending upon what's identified in the file naming convention. Oftentimes the date will be required to be incorporated into a file name, sometimes not. So be sure you pay attention to when that's required or not. And the note in the lower right, so there is a dash between the DSA origin ID and the DSA application number, an underscore between the DSA application number and the DSA form number, then underscore, date, and followed by a building number, if applicable. That's at least for the DSA Form 119. Be sure that you follow what's identified in the table that's provided in the External Users Training module of section 1.4 to understand what the particular file name needs to be based upon the form number that it is. So again, keep in mind, not all files include the date. Therefore, make sure you check the naming standards. Now we will take a look at the folder system or folder structure of DSAbox. First there's DSAbox, then there's the project documents, and then it goes into each of the regional offices within DSA. So for the Sacramento region after that, then it goes down into whichever the particular school district that may be associated with it, or CAL FIRE in this case for essential services facilities, then the particular campus location, and then the particular application number or the origin and the ID for the application number. After that, it gets further broken down into these other subfolders. And we will look more at these subfolders momentarily. Continuing now with the folder system, we've now taken where we left off with, for the most part, from that previous slide onto this one. You notice that these tracks are similar to parent folders based upon the particular individual or party that's going to be associated with uploading files to that track. There are many subfolders associated with these tracks, and these are an appropriate way to think about this folder system that is established in DSAbox for each structure, for each project. For the information shown highlighted in the lower left, those files or those folders will only be applicable if the special inspector or geotechnical engineer is not employed by the laboratory of record, but is instead hired by the district or owner as an independent contractor. In the next slides, we're going to focus on those folders and subfolders that are most applicable to the project inspector. And those are shown highlighted now. We'll take a brief sidestep though to look briefly at certification status or certification box, because that's a little bit different than DSAbox in that it is associated with those projects that have already been certified or perhaps certified without all of the documentation that is required to receive a properly certified project. So going into this in a bit more detail, as far as procedure PR 1302, that particular procedure has more information related to what we're going to cover, which is just the highlights at this point. Remember, the overall idea is that when it comes to the project certification process, as the title of the slide notes, certification starts when construction begins. So with regards to PR 1302, with the first sub-bullet here, there's DSA forms DSA 301-N, 301-P, and 302 are used. That's what is associated with the certification box. Before I forget, it's important to note that PR 1302, the term occupied has a very specific meaning that's provided in section 2.1. Make sure you take a look at that should you have a project that is nearing certification, nearing the end of the certification process, or where construction is nearly completed. Continuing on now with the second sub-bullet, the specific missing forms and the responsible individuals will be identified on first the DSA 301N and later on the 301P if those have not been received. So continuing on this concept a bit more, the DSA 301-N is seen by project collaborators in DSAbox, and it's identifying those pieces of information as far as what forms are missing and who are the individuals responsible for providing those missing forms. After 60 days, if whatever is remaining that have not yet been collected, that were identified on the 301N, will then be identified on the 301P form, and that is posted for public viewing. Anyone of the general public can see this information in Certification Box, whether that's school district personnel, PTA, legislative members, journalists, and so on. Anyone can see this. Sometimes this has been referred to as the wall of shame, so to speak. The DSA 302 is the form that is used by the project team in response to the information that has been identified on 301P. Generally, that's going to be the method through which the design professionals or others who are required to be provide missing forms will respond to and provide that missing documentation. Getting back now to DSAbox, in the External Users Training module in section 1.3, it talks about the DSA established subfolders within the tracks. You'll notice here that these are all primarily under the Project Inspector. So all of these folders that you see are within the track for the Project Inspector. There are some examples provided for the different cards that may be occurring on a given project. You could have many more than this, or only one or two. This information here provides a brief description of what the user permissions are for the different stakeholders usually involved in DSA projects, as far as if they have only viewer permissions or if they have viewer and uploader permissions. Obviously, for the Project Inspector, they will have both viewer and uploader permissions because the Project Inspector are the ones responsible to be uploading these various documents that are going to go into each of these folders. When it comes to receiving a collaborator invitation to work on a project within DSAbox, you'll actually have to go through two different steps. The first step is that you must create an account. The second step is that you will be receiving an invitation to become a collaborator. This image that you see here is similar to what you would see when receiving the email, the first email, requesting that you create an account for DSAbox. This second image that you are now seeing is the collaborator invitation. You will see something very similar to this, though it could be different based upon what modifications Box makes as it continues to make revisions and updates to its system. When it comes to creating a DSAbox account, this was with regards to the information shown in that first email, you'll see something similar to this, which is rather common when creating online accounts with various providers, online service providers. So you'd provide your name, the email that's associated with it, well, it should already be provided, and then the password, and then you confirm the password, and it'll provide you with some information about whether or not you have a strong or weak password, and then you click on Continue. The information that you receive may be a little bit different than what you see here based upon modifications and updates that have been made to Box by the time you're viewing this presentation. In this video, I'll show you how you can modify some of the frequency of notifications you would receive from DSAbox. After logging into your DSAbox account, then you can go to Account Settings, click on that, then click on the Sharing tab, then scroll down until you get to the Email Notifications section, and then you can click on the different items that you would like to receive or not receive notifications about. You can do this, check this box also if you'd like to be kept aware if your account is ever accessed from a new device. And after you've made whatever modifications you desire here, or in other areas on this tab, don't forget to click on Save Changes. Otherwise, the work you've just spent is for nothing. so don't forget to do that. Additionally, you can also use email software to filter incoming messages based upon the sender. Thank you for your time. My name again is Ryan Huxley, and I'm a supervising structural engineer in DSA headquarters, Sacramento.